Recently, we acquired Relief, which is a similar product, but just kind of a lighter version of Dry Shield. And particularly used more so in hygiene than in operative settings. So for hygienists that find Dry Shield too cumbersome or just overkill, this is a great option for hygienists to get that isolation as well. Still enjoy the benefit of the aerosol reduction, particularly if they're using an ultrasonic scaler like the Cavitron, so the patient doesn't feel like they're being waterboarded.
Right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here on Beyond the Operatory, brought to you by the amazing team at Dental City. And we have had a host of great guests here in 2026. And as I've shared with many of you that subscribe to the podcast, that we have had conversations really kind of on both sides of what's going on in the dental practice. We've had conversations around leadership and practice management and those types of things. We've had some conversations in regards to what's going on in the DSO space and independent practice space and all of those things. But one of the things, as many of you know, when it comes to Dental City is the relationship with their amazing partners. And I think one of the things that I have loved about dentistry, I've been in dentistry now for 21 years, is that it's one of those professions where the relationship with your dental manufacturer, the products and services and tech that you use in the practice are so important. So it was very important to the Dental City team that as part of the Beyond the Operatory podcast, we had conversations with so many of these great companies. So I'm very excited today to be with Brian Mergentime, who is the Director of Partnerships from Solmetex. He is here in Louisville. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm great. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited, first of all, that you took the time to fly to Louisville, although we were just talking that you've got friends here, you've got to visit some other colleagues, but it's great to have you, and I'm excited to learn all things Solmetex today.
Absolutely. This is a great town. It's one of my favorite towns to visit. I've been working in this territory on and off for 15 years, so it's always a great chance to come in, catch up with some folks that I don't get to see all that regularly.
Yeah.
And looking forward to this chat.
Awesome. All right, so you and I were just talking before we came on here. I think before we get into all of the great products that you all are offering around infection control and water lines and all of that, that the Solmetex history and the story is pretty cool. So I thought we would start there. There might be a lot of dental practices that are watching this that have maybe heard of the name, don't know all of the products in that, but most importantly, I think the story is important too.
Absolutely. So the company was originally founded in the late 90s. And what their forte was at the time was removing mercury and arsenic from water, not in dental, but just industrial applications. And then in the early 2000s, as the original states that started talking about amalgam separation, which was in New England, as that started happening, we developed our original HG5 amalgam separator. One by one, those New England states started enacting their own local regulations. And so when I joined the company in 2017, I made a jump partially because it was something that felt good and near to my heart. Removing mercury from wastewater. Dental offices are the #1 contributor to mercury in wastewater, not to the environment at large, but specifically, yeah.
You're good.
Specifically in wastewater.
Yeah.
And when I joined the company, particularly with the change of presidential administrations in January of 2017, that came in with, let's say, a particularly hostile stance towards the EPA, we really thought that we were potentially 4 to 8 years out from a federal regulation that had been kicking in and out of EPA review for a little while already. And then lo and behold, 2 months after I joined the company, we get on a phone call at 9:30 in the morning, and I can remember exactly where I was. I was leaving my hotel in Atlanta, and this is pre-COVID, so
yeah.
we get an invite to go to meeting, because this is now everything is Teams and Zoom, right? But back then, so had to dial in to go to meeting at 9:30, and they said, "You're never going to believe this, but it just got added to the Federal Register. It takes effect in 30 days."
Wow.
Perfect storm for us in that we had already roadmapped launching our next generation separator in July of 2017. And the rule actually began to take effect July 14th of 2017. So it was really just kind of a perfect confluence of events for us.
What was it about this company that excited you, why you wanted to be a part of this organization?
I had already known them and was working with them from the dealer side of the equation, where I had been years prior. And I knew their reputation. I knew that their method and their process for taking care of this amalgam waste was streamlined and efficient, and they had already solidly cemented themselves as the market leader in that space.
So right now, Brian, when a practice works with Solmetex, what can they expect, let's say, 30 days after they become a customer? It's kind of one of my favorite questions to ask.
Because of what we do, I don't know that there's a whole lot of onboarding necessary a lot of times, although now, besides the Solmetex product line, we've also got Sterisil, we've also got Dry Shield. We just purchased a company called Relief, which will be integrated into the core company starting next year. Yeah. And we own a product called Osteogen as well, which is being run separately because it just doesn't quite fit with the rest of the companies. Yeah. But we have an outside sales team, we have a robust inside sales team to really be able to take care of the customers and anything they need. Plus an online portal that we've developed and continue to build out over the years where they can really take care of all of their compliance needs in one spot.
So with all of those different products, when a dental practice comes up to the booth at a show and they ask what it is that you guys do, what does the team say? What's the best way to describe that?
We've positioned it a few different ways over the years, particularly after we acquired Sterisil and Dry Shield in 2022. What the talk track was initially was that we are taking care of everything surrounding safe water in the dental space. Okay. From water into the office, water through, and water back out of the office. Okay. At this point, and this all remains true, but I think the bigger picture, quite honestly, at this point, is that everything we do is really designed to streamline processes in the office and make things extremely efficient for the office where they can focus on the job at hand, which is dentistry, and not worry so much about the time assistants and staff is spending doing the ancillary stuff that maybe takes up more time with other products depending.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that as well. It's one thing to say that time is money, but in a dental practice, it really does hit home. If an operatory can't be used for a host of different reasons, in this case water lines, or there's any issue at all, not just one day, but potentially a week, it really throws things off. Like I just think about now, even my own kids, in some cases trying to get them in to get a cleaning in some dental practices takes months. Yep. So then you multiply that times, downtime in this particular instance. And I know that's something that you wanted to talk about, which is just how important, time is money and how that's a focus for you all with how you're helping that efficiency in the practice.
Absolutely. And, growing up, my mother used to say this thing and used to drive me crazy, and she'd point at her watch and say, time is money, look at the clock. And I'd probably roll my eyes and maybe giggle. And, years later, as it turns out, she's correct. Yeah. It really is. And I think a lot of times we're not paying attention to what all of that time adds up to be when there's not a patient in the chair.
Yeah. And so talk a little bit about the things you all do specifically to prevent those things from happening so that they would have to take time when it comes to the prevention of the waterline issues and things like that. I love how you defined it, which is it's water in and then water through and then water out. So it really is that whole continuum in the practice. But talk a little bit about what are some of the specifics of how you all help the practice, manage that so they're not going to have to worry about it.
Oh, sure. So on the Solmetex side, we weren't the first amalgam separator to market. What we were the first company that was able to close the loop and really make it a turnkey process, from the amalgam separator itself to changing out a collection container, sending it out for recycling, and then getting a compliance certificate back, which they're required to be able to show records. Okay. On the Sterisil side, and as well on the Solmetex side, our vacuum line cleaner Power Scrub is designed to really scrub the lines, not just keep things flowing, but really take care of any sort of debris that's on the inside of the pipes and really get the suction working at optimum efficiency. Can be used with hot or cold water. A lot of vacuum line cleaners require hot water, and seems to be a feature that assistants especially love, that we don't require hot water for activation. Yeah. On the Sterisil side, our straws are sort of a set it and forget it product. It's the Ron Popeil Showtime Rotisserie Grill, if you will, right? It's set it and forget it. You put the straw in. The first thing the straw does is releases a dose of shock. And so ordinarily we'll tell a practice to change their straws out on a Friday. start running the water through the lines, let it sit over the weekend so the shock has contact time with all the tubings, and then Monday morning, flush the lines for 2 minutes, or if they don't like their patients Monday morning, they don't have to flush the lines because it's perfectly safe. It just doesn't taste particularly good. And then from there, we still do recommend that they shock once a month just to stay ahead of any potential issues. But it's also, we recognize that it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of category. So besides straws, which is a best-in-class product for us, we have tablets. We have inline and valved cartridges if offices want to use cartridges from the J-Box if they're using municipal water and they don't have bottles. We have whole office systems that will take care of all of the water in the office for both sterilization and dental water, meaning it's been treated with our silver resin.
Yeah. One of the things I want to ask you as well is, you mentioned you came into the company in 2017 before COVID. We talked about that. And what changed for this organization during COVID? Because, and the reason why I want to get into that and have you share is that I believe that dental practices have such an opportunity to market to the patients in their community the different products and the steps they are taking when it comes to infection control and things like that. I think that's, in many cases, a big missed opportunity that dental practices may not always connect the dots to say, hey, we work with these great companies, they provide us, a lot of certainty when it comes to, infection control, and in this case, Waterlines. But what changed with you all during COVID?
We did have to run a little lean for a few months.
Yeah.
At the same time, we really had to kind of think and develop some guidance for offices as they were potentially shutting down to say, this is what you should do prior to shutting down and or immediately after reopening.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened during COVID, and we didn't acquire Dry Shield until 2022, but the pandemic was really a huge takeoff point for Dry Shield because of the aerosol reduction aspect of Dry Shield.
Yeah.
Funny enough, these days that's probably the last talking point that we talk about with Dry Shield, because we really talk about efficiency and cutting down procedure time anywhere between 25 and 40%. If they're using Dry Shield in the office.
Yeah.
But at the time, especially, Dry Shield really took off because of the aerosol reduction, as offices were using those extra oral vacuums, and that I still see laying around offices all the time now, but they're either tucked away in a closet or tucked in the corner of an operatory and probably haven't been used since, summer or early fall of 2020.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring it up because, again, it's interesting, like you mentioned, how there's different aspects of how you talk about Dry Shield, but I still do believe that a lot of patients are coming to practices now and they're asking of the practice, what are the things that you are doing in here to provide us a safe environment? And I think COVID amplified that and accelerated that, and I feel like you all have positioned yourself to be able to solve that. But I want to bring up, because I think for a lot of practices, it's a great opportunity for them to share what they do in order to prevent that, but make the patients feel safe. And of course, you all support that and help with that.
Oh, agreed. And we actually have, for our customers, we have a certificate that they can display showing that they're a safe water office.
It's a big deal.
I think it is. I think it will be increasingly so as this awareness just continues to grow.
Yeah. So the reason why I want to bring that up is because I feel like there are more and more patients that are looking at their dental practice and they're asking, they're aware, they're concerned about how is the practice utilizing some of the newer technology in an effort to be able to provide them a safe environment. And in the case of Waterlines and infection control, especially since COVID, which I think really amplified it, I think that positions you all very well. And I just want to get your thoughts on that and how, for a dental practice that's watching this, that confidence that they can know that with the products that you provide them, that they can share that message to their patients confidently, that they can solve that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, having gone through the biggest pandemic since the early 1900s, there's certainly a higher level of awareness, right, and more education towards it. We do offer offices a certificate showing that they're a quote-unquote safe water office if they're users of especially Sterisil. But, again, we do refer to it, you used the word continuum earlier, and we do refer to it as the Solmetex continuum of care.
Yeah.
And, again, it's that water in, through, out, that really we felt the acquisitions we made in 2022 really made sense strategically and really helped to tell a good story.
Yeah. All right, so now let's go through, if you're good with it, I want to go through each of the individual products. So you kind of talk to them high level, but I thought this would be a great opportunity for anybody that's watching this to know all of those individual products and maybe one or two key points from each one of those.
Sure. So, again, on the Solmetex side, the amalgam separator is, we're in roughly 80 to 85% of dental offices around the country. Not because of the device itself, although the device is obviously works great, but it was really about the process and the ease of use, the ease of replacing a collection container when it's full, because the way the regulation is written is if you have a changeable component to an amalgam separator, it needs to be replaced once a year or when full, whatever comes first. I think a lot of offices here 1 year, and they don't necessarily pay attention to it. So there is an education piece there, because we do try to remind offices, check it on a Monday morning. We say, check it once a week, but I think every few weeks is probably okay.
Yeah.
But Monday morning, after it's had a chance to settle and the vacuum hasn't been running all weekend. And then the change out process itself is so simple. It's make sure the vacuum's running, and I'm going to emphasize that again, make sure the vacuum's running. Because if you turn the vacuum off and you go to check the collection container, it's a mistake you're only going to make one time. And you're going to get a bath, and it's not something you want to bathe in. But basically, with the vacuum running, pull 2 pins, kind of rock it back and forth just to sort of break the seal, put the old collection container off to the side. You're going to take the caps from the new container, cap off the old one, put the new container in place. Because the vacuum's running, it's going to kind of into place, put the pins back in, done. And with the recycle kit that comes with the new container, it gives them everything they need to send back the container. They go onto our website and log the container in with the code at the top on the lid, and it'll enable them to print a UPS call tag. And next time UPS drops off supplies at the office, they just hand them the box, and away it goes. And then roughly 10 days later, they'll have a compliance certificate in our online portal.
Yeah, awesome. All right, next product.
Still on the Solmetex side, again, I'll talk about Power Scrub because it's a product that's near and dear to me. We launched it in 2019, and originally when we launched it, it was just 2 of us sort of talking about it with the dealers around the country, and there wasn't a whole lot of air support from marketing initially. We were a little late to the game. It's a product that we probably should have had from day one, but it really does do a better job than anything else that I know of in terms of really cleaning the lines and also settling the waste in the containers so they'll get a little bit extra life out of the collection container. Okay. The waste in there should always kind of look very settled and almost like sand art. And sometimes, depending on the line cleaners, and especially some of the enzymatic-based ones do this, it makes the waste look very fluffy, and they're not maximizing capacity.
Yeah.
And again, the fact that it can be hot or cold water activated seems to be something that resonates with the assistants that are taking care of the lines at the end of the day, as opposed to needing hot water for activation.
Got it.
Okay. On the Sterisil side, the biggest differentiator for us, particularly with our straw, is that all the other straws on the dental market use iodine.
Okay.
Iodine is an oxidizer. It's not a particularly pleasant taste, so I think it doesn't really make for a +1 patient experience, to be quite honest. We use a silver ion resin in our straw that has no taste whatsoever. And again, in terms of the change out, it's a once-a-year product. And what I especially love about it is when you install the straw, that first dose that comes out of the straw is shock. So they don't have to do that process separately. Again, we're just trying to streamline processes and make things as efficient as possible.
Right.
And again, because one size doesn't fit all, we have options. I think in terms of Waterline safety, when used correctly, everything could potentially work. But I feel like we are dummy-proofing the process a little bit.
Yeah.
We also, if you're using our shock, which is Citrasil shock, you can shock right through our straw. And we do suggest you shock once a month just to stay ahead of the game and make sure that there's no biofilm building up in the lines. There shouldn't be, but again, for less than $2 a tablet, an ounce of prevention,
Yeah.
Every other straw, you would have to replace the straw. First of all, iodine straws, you have to take the bottle off every night, empty the water, dry the bottle, dry the straw, start again in the morning. With ours, you're going to leave the straw submerged in water all the time.
Yeah.
We can shock right through the straw. We don't have to replace it with a dummy straw, run shock through the dummy straw, flush the lines out again, then replace the straw again. Again, efficiency,
yeah.
And time saving. And then we have options. If you don't want to use a straw, we have tablets that they can use. And every time they refill the bottle, they're going to drop a tablet. I like the straw better because it's sort of, you don't have to worry about it. It's always there.
Right.
We have for older offices or offices with slightly older equipment that maybe aren't utilizing a water bottle, which is really best case scenario is they should be using a water bottle. There are add-on kits that don't cost a lot of money that really help ensure that the office is able to take care of their water lines thoroughly.
Got it.
So we have cartridges that fit in the J box. We have cartridges that fit outside the J box. We have whole office systems that have visual readouts that will tell you as the levels of these cartridges are depleting when it's time to replace them, and audible alarms that will remind them also if they're not looking at the heads-up display. So I love the fact that we have options.
Yeah.
And those whole office systems are great because they provide distilled quality water as well. So it's providing both water for their sterilizer as well as water for their dental units. And dry shield, of course. So again, during COVID, really the main salient talking point was aerosol reduction.
Yeah.
And it still is, and it's something great to talk about, and we could talk about that with relief as well. But with dry shield, really at this point, what it's about is modern isolation, retraction, airway protection. Offices that have ever had a burr drop down somebody's throat. Yep. And know what that feeling is like.
Yep.
And wondering, what's coming next? Am I looking at, it's going to protect against that. But more importantly, efficiency, it speeds up procedure times by anywhere between 25 to 40% is what our users tell us. And now recently we acquired Relief, which is a similar product, but just kind of a lighter version of Dry Shield. And particularly used more so in hygiene than in operative settings. So for hygienists that find Dry Shield too cumbersome or just overkill, this is a great option for hygienists to get that isolation as well. Still enjoy the benefit of the aerosol reduction, particularly if they're using an ultrasonic scaler like the Cavitron, so the patient doesn't feel like they're being waterboarded.
Right. What's the feedback been? And you said 2022, right, with Dry Shield and then now Relief. What's been the feedback that you hear from practice, whether they come talk to you at the show or when the team talks to them on the phone? Like, what are some of the things that you've been hearing?
They love. I mean, especially with Dry Shield, they love it. Both, from the doctor's side and the hygienist side, depending on, again, if for hygiene procedures, if they're doing SRP, it's a great tool for that. Any sort of quadrant scanning, Dry Shield's great for because it's going to keep a dry field. We've been using the tagline of anytime that you need a dry field, there's Dry Shield.
I love that. Yeah, you mentioned it a little bit, but Colm, one of the last things I wanted to talk to you about is what you hear from your dental practices. I talk about this a lot, Brian. I think one of the great things about the dental profession is the relationship between a company like Solmetex and the dental practice, because you're constantly getting feedback. What's working, what's not? How can you guys make things better? What's that been like for you? If you go back to 2017 and you look at the impact that you've made in dental practices, you, along with the rest of your team, what are you all most proud of?
So many different things. From an environmental aspect, the fact that we're reducing mercury into wastewater by 70, 80%, sometimes more. And we see that based on numbers from municipalities that are reporting that sort of thing. On the Sterisil side, one of my favorite new products has been our Fast Check 15 Waterline test. So traditionally, in-office testing involved paddle tests, which means you're saturating a paddle with water, you're letting it incubate anywhere between 48 to 72 hours, and then you're counting spots and, okay, maybe that's a spot, maybe it's not. Well, you're waiting 3 days to find out if there's a problem, and how many patients have you seen in that chair since then? Now, if you were a military dentist, and you failed that test 3 days later, you're required to notify every single patient you saw.
Right.
I live in the real world, and I know that most private offices are not doing that.
Yeah.
But Fast Check 15 is designed to look like a COVID test. It's basically 15 minutes start to finish. With a little dip strip. One line means you pass. Two lines mean your water lines have COVID. So the 2 lines are a fail. It's designed to look that way because it was an image that after 2020, with the advent of Binax Now and all the at-home COVID testing and everybody tickling their brain with a swab for a couple of years, it's an image that everybody understands and appreciates. And now, 15 minutes later, you have an answer. If you need to remediate, you can do it right then. And what we would say would be, if you fail a test, you're going to shock, wait 3 to 5 days, and then retest again. You don't want to test immediately after you shock because it's kind of like taking a test and having the answers to the test.
Right.
You're going to pass.
Right.
We want to see 3 to 5 days later and make sure that the problem's actually been resolved. Right. We also have mail-in lab testing. So what I would like to see is, at minimum, offices do an in-office test quarterly. I think at the price point of Fast Check 15, I think there's no reason they couldn't do it monthly. And then certainly do at least, at minimum, 1 lab test a year, just so they have a real number as opposed to a pass-fail.
Yep.
But I think offices have loved the ability to test on the spot, be able to remediate on the spot if necessary, and be able to get an answer without having to sit there and count spots on the paddle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love those things. And last thing I wanted to have you share is, for any dental practice that's watching this, we talked about this a little bit, is maybe some words of wisdom of how they could present to their patients when they are using your lineup of products to provide that confidence and that safety, whether it be the, minimizing the biofilm and anything that you talked about, but just some words that they could use, that they could share with their patients confidently. Hey, like these are some of the things that we do. This is how we make sure that your environment is safe when you come to our dental practice. Anything that you think over the years would be beneficial for a dental practice that's watching this, where they could confidently say to their patients when they get those questions, because we mentioned it. I think it's going to continue to happen. I mean, I think in COVID it happened a lot, and then it kind of fell off a little bit. But I feel like more and more practices are finding ways to be able to, use the products they use in their practice and the safety as a way to market them versus the practice down the street. So what would be some words of wisdom for a practice? Oh,
absolutely. And again, I love the idea that we have that safe water certificate that staff, doctor can point to and show a patient, we do go above and beyond what's required by law, and we really have patient safety first and foremost on our at top of mind. Even if it's not at the top of your mind, it's at the top of our mind. And I think that's sort of an overarching theme for Solmetex in general. At one point in a marketing meeting years ago, we never really ran with this, but I still love it, and I still wish we would at some point, was we came up with the idea of, you might not think about us every day, but we're thinking about you every day.
Yeah, I love that. Where can more people learn about Solmetex, and a great way for them to get started, whether it's with one product or learning about the whole line that you talked about from your experience?
Sure. Variety of places. Number one, they can speak to their reps and the team at Dental City, of course, as well as www.solmetex.com, where all of our products are on one website, as well as reaching out either through the website, where we have a rep locator, or just calling in, and they'll be directed to the appropriate person depending on what state they're calling from. We have a robust inside team that is there to help and answer any questions, provide guidance, etc., as well as an outside team that can always do lunch and learns, do CE courses for them, and be able to provide the offices the training that they need or want to really be successful.
Yeah, that just made me think of something before we wrap, which is, when you do get phone calls, or when the customer service team gets phone calls, is there a learning curve with a lot of these products? Do you find that, what are some of the calls that the team gets when someone calls in?
I'd like to say that there's not really a learning curve.
That's great. Yeah.
I think, again, the idea of changing out the collection container, and there's a sticker on the separator itself. There's a sticker on the collection container itself that says "Leave vacuum running when changing container." But yet, every trade show every trade show I'm at, or every dealer event I'm at, inevitably I'll have somebody walk up to me and say, "Let me tell you about this one time," and I'll just kind of smile and say, Bet you never did it again.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of the Sterisil products, really, it's so easy. The one mistake, if there's any, is that because we talk about being able to shock through our straw, and I notice I did emphasize, if you're using our shock, if you're using Citrasil shock, you can shock through the straw. Yeah. If you run another shock through our straw, you're going to kill the straw.
Okay.
So if there's something that comes up on that side of the equation, that would typically be the reason behind it.
Gotcha.
And other than that, I mean, really everything is so self-explanatory. The IFUs take care of everything. Yeah. There's QR codes everywhere for people to look up any information they need. The website is a huge repository of information as well. So I'd like to believe that, you know, there's really not much of a learning curve.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Brian, thanks so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know the Dental City team loves the partnership and is really focused on, you know, taking a lot of things that you shared today and getting it out to all of their practices that they work with, letting it be known of how you all are helping and all of that. So we want to thank all of you for watching. Again, if you are watching this on YouTube, we'd love to have you subscribe. If you're listening to this or watching this on Spotify or Apple Music, same thing there. Subscribe to the podcast. That way, each time we upload a new episode, it will come through automatically on your listening device of choice. So thanks again for tuning in. And Brian, have a great day.
You too. Pleasure to be with you.
You as well. Thanks, everybody.